My boss said I'm threatened by his masculine energy. I am a millennial woman, and my new boss is a Gen X man. We have been butting heads a lot, mostly because I think he lacks the basic skills and competencies to do his job. My frustration has gotten to the point where I feel like screaming most days. This past week, I had to send him yet another email where I tried to politely and professionally explain that he was yet again doing something wrong. I had 2 people read it for tone before I sent it. This is the opening paragraph to the 10 paragraphs he sent in response. I think, name, that you would benefit from learning about the unconscious and the psychological defense of projections and transferences that emanate from the unconscious of a person, especially one with a highly dysregulated nervous system. I am a human being too. I have done it and can do it, still do it at times, and that's why I know about it experientially. It's also why I speak to the need for grace often, as well as accountability. Believe it or not, and that is a literal statement because I really don't think you can believe it at this point in your life. I extend a great deal of grace to you. But that does not mean I am going to take on crap that you are trying to offload onto me. Nor am I going to just be a wallflower as a director of an organization that needs to address its challenges. Because you have been working in an all-female environment for so long, it's quite possible that you and others take the masculine energy that I at times emanate as a threat when there is no threat. But you perceive it as so. I'm sorry about that, and I can be mindful of behaviors, but I am not going to sit in analysis paralysis while we try to adjust to the chaos left behind in the emotional wake of the Trump train. The best part about this email is that he voluntarily CC'd the board chair on it. He tries to paint me as a hysterical, flaky, incompetent woman, which fell flat because I've worked with our chair, a man, for the last 10+ years. A few weeks prior to this email, I had asked an external project partner if I could use him as a professional reference, as he has had nothing but very nice things to say about the work I've done with him for the last 3+ years. The day after I received this unhinged email from my boss, that project partner called me and asked how my job search was going. I said, not great, and he asked if I wanted to come work with him. We later had a 2-hour-long conversation, and I'm being offered a pay bump and an opportunity to oversee a really awesome project. So now I need to write my resignation letter to my boss. Due to our summer PTO schedules, I won't actually see my boss for another 2.5 weeks, and I won't be starting my new job until mid-August. When he gets back to the office, I would love to have a polite and professional response composed that burns this man and his masculine emanations to the ground. Can you offer me any advice on what to say? P.S. I spoke to an employment attorney, and because our organization has fewer than 15 employees, it's not required to comply with federal anti-discrimination laws. I apparently don't have a lot of legal rights in this instance. While this is bonkers, I am working to put together additional documentation for the board that will hopefully inspire them to fire him. Update Sept 4, 2025, 2 months later. I followed your advice and submitted a 3-sentence resignation letter. It was freeing to not try to craft a longer letter. New boss made some noise about trying to get me a counter-offer to keep me on, but I quickly deflected and moved on. I thought your readers would like a little more context info and an update on what happened after I gave notice. The organization is a nonprofit that provides entrepreneurship training to adults in a specific industry and is heavily reliant on federal and state funding to do the work. Applying for and spending government funding requires knowledge of complex bureaucratic regulations and processes. I've been writing and managing government grants since 2016, and I'm pretty well respected for my work within our niche field. The funding freezes, terminations, and general uncertainty at the federal level have been devastating for my org and our partners. Besides the fact that new boss, NB, has the personality of a flaming bag of dog poo, he seems to lack any knowledge or understanding of how to navigate government funding. The board shared NB's resume with the staff before he was hired, and he had lots of grant writing and management experience listed. I was initially excited about him because I looked forward to getting support for all of the administrative headaches that come with government funding. Unfortunately, he frequently behaves as though he's never seen a grant regulation before. Instead of reducing the burden on me, he multiplied it as I had to frequently explain to him why the thing he wanted to do was not allowable. He seems to have memory issues to boot, as I often had to explain the same thing to him multiple times. I never felt like he adequately understood what I was telling him. One of my coworkers described the situation as trying to work for a squirrel with early onset dementia. The one time he decided to write a grant, he cut me out of the process until the last minute when he handed me a complete disaster of a narrative and budget to edit the day before it was due. I worked until 10 p.m. that day and was up at 6 a.m. the next day putting in the hours to make it submittable. The worst part was his budget, which was so uniquely formatted that I could barely interpret it. I had to explain to someone with grant writing all over their resume that funders do not accept bespoke budget formats, and could he please translate into the proper format. I sent him a template with detailed notes on where things needed to go. He tried, but was unable to translate it on his own. I had to beg a favor from our financial director to get her to format it correctly so I could focus on rewriting the narrative portion. The financial director then complained to me that she is having to waste hours of her time each month translating QuickBooks reports into NB's bespoke format, because otherwise he seems unable to understand the information. Anyway, after I submitted my notice, I emailed the board executive committee asking for an exit interview with them. The org is too small to have an HR person and doesn't really have any defined policies around exit interviews. 3 committee members assented to my request, and 1 refused. This person is going to be the next board chair and also led the board committee that hired NB. They are apparently very pro-NB. Current board chair, who was CC'd on NB's email featured previously, has been trying to step down for the last few months. I think this state of transition in leadership is the main factor in NB not being fired already. I had the exit interview with current board chair, the treasurer, and a 3rd board member last week. I came with very detailed notes about specific incidents and areas of concern I had about NB's ability to successfully administer a nonprofit organization. The treasurer especially asked a lot of questions, and it sounds like the financial director has also been raising concerns with them. 2 other coworkers, including the financial director, also submitted notices in the weeks after I put mine in. I honestly don't know at this point if NB will get fired or if the board will try to prop him up. I'm on my 4th day at my new job and starting to care less and less about the situation at my old job. I would be sad if they totally imploded, but it's a giant relief that I'm not there anymore. I appreciate the advice you gave me and the thoughtful responses from your readers. I would like to apologize to all the Gen X folks I offended, as I was just trying to speak to a 20-year age gap between us. Thanks again. Am I the jerk for making my coworker pay me back after she ate my labeled lunch for the 3rd time? I 30F work in an office where everyone knows fridge theft is an issue. I always label my meals. One coworker, 26F, has accidentally eaten my food multiple times. Each time she apologizes and says she was too hungry to think straight. Last week I brought homemade lasagna that took hours to make. At lunch, it was gone. I caught her heating it up. I told her to give it back. She laughed and said she already started eating. I told her she owed me $25 ingredients plus my time. She rolled her eyes but eventually transferred it. Now she's telling everyone I extorted her for food and that I'm making the office hostile. Some coworkers say I overreacted. Others say she deserved it. Am I the jerk for demanding money instead of just letting it slide? Am I the jerk for refusing to tone down my wedding dress because my sister is insecure? I 27F am getting married next spring. My sister, 25F, is my maid of honor. She's been struggling with body image and I've been nothing but supportive. Last week she asked to see my dress. When I showed her, she went quiet and then said it was too revealing. It has a low back. She asked if I would pick something less attention-grabbing because she doesn't want to be overshadowed in the photos. I told her gently that the wedding dress is about me, not her, and I'm not changing it. She cried and said I'm prioritizing vanity over her feelings. Now she's threatening not to be in the bridal party. My fiancé thinks she's being unreasonable, but my mom says I should compromise for peace. Am I the jerk for refusing to alter my dress for her insecurity?